talks about, 4.7 million people actually die every year due to indoor pollution, and around 3.7 million people due to ambient pollution lose their life every year.
Thank you, Rahul, and thank you, Surjit, and the whole team of Sanofi for having this session, especially because this is a session on a very important topic. I know, of course, it's important to highlight the merits of the pharmaceutical products that we have in the market in a very scientific way. But the most important thing is the dedication of Sanofi that has worked for several years now towards this important topic of air pollution. An increasing trend for rise in the prevalence of both asthma and allergy. So does air pollution cause allergic airway diseases like allergic rhinitis and asthma? Well, they don't actually cause, they aggravate, they worsen. They worsen the inflammation in the human body, as well as they worsen the causative substance like the allergens. They increase the allergens. Yes, I'll come to you in my next slide. They increase the allergenicity, they increase the season of the longer seasons, and basically pollution actually aggravates allergic airway diseases. The conclusion of this study shows that the air pollutants such as SO2 and CO increases risk of recent symptoms of asthma and allergic rhinitis in school children. So again, across these different studies, this is again in Mexico, so across these different studies, the results are the same. Now, what about indoor air pollutants? We've come across the different outdoor pollutions, the indoor pollutants. We have sources like cooking, combustion, particle suspension, building materials like sick building syndrome, air conditioning and cleaning materials, the chemicals that are present in cleaning, consumer products also that contain chemicals. This was also spoken to by one of our colleagues about plastic, was mentioned by Jiao Wang. Smoking, heating, and biological agents, which results in these kind of products that actually serve as indoor air pollutants. But we also know that now food allergy sensitization occurs not only orally, but also to the skin. So a damaged skin barrier, which is caused by these things that aggravate it, can also lead to food allergy. We don't have the evidence showing that literally, but this is obviously a postulation and an area of research. The association between gas only for cooking and current symptoms of asthma and rhinoconjunctivitis. It's a little difficult slide to see because of the writing in black here, but across the different age groups, and you can see the two age groups of the Isaac study, you can see all the different parameters like current wheeze, current symptoms of asthma, asthma ever, hay fever, eczema, all these were actually more in the gas only for cooking, leading to this thing. So very clearly showing that this kind of indoor pollutants actually can lead to asthma and allergic rhinitis aggravation. What about sick building syndrome? Well, there's about 20 to 30% of workers in office buildings have symptoms attributed to this. Well, in Japan, there is a huge, actually, project which was initiated by Professor Ikura, the boss of Motohiro and Saito, and a very close friend of mine who passed away several years back. And he led this initiative, which now is well done, well established, and is looking at the different aspects. In many countries, this is a huge problem. So you have the sick building syndrome, and the people inhale that and land up with respiratory symptoms. So the formaldehyde in the building is one of the key causes of it. What are the other things that are listing? Toxic molds or bacteria known to cause the disease, and other building-related material can also cause these kind of symptoms. And many of them have similar qualities, but let's look at some of the data that's there. So you can see here the rapid onset of action and longer duration. This is what is preferred, so preferably once a day. In some countries, people prefer to have it twice a day, so they might have it in lower doses, but at twice a day is the first line of treatment, and especially for sneezing and rhinorrhea, high receptor selectivity, should have additional anti-inflammatory effects, should not have sedative effects or almost minimal, and should not have drug-to-drug interaction or interaction with other foods. That controlling allergic rhinitis is key to control of asthma too, and key to also probably preventing the development of asthma. This is absolutely a fact. There is no doubt. There are plenty of studies. The thunderstorm asthma is an example. There are so many cases. We have seen that when the rhinitis is well controlled, the asthma attacks are almost not there. And you can step down the treatment from giving them inhaled corticosteroids to just giving them LTRA as a maintenance dose. So when we summarize all these different area recommendations, we come to understand that the rapid onset, 30 minutes, the fact that it has an effect on all the different symptoms of allergic rhinitis, high receptor selectivity, anti-inflammatory effects, no sedative effects, and no drug-to-drug interaction. So we would put 2 or 3 of the antihistamines in the top category, levocetirizine, fexofenadine, and loratadine. But again, when you compare the other aspects, the receptor selectivity, then you would take fexofenadine. When you look at the rapid onset of action, you would take fexofenadine. So these are the ways you need to compare and actually justify how you can scientifically make a recommendation on what you would like to use. And I think the most key important point for me, personally I would say, is the fact that it has very good anti-inflammatory effects, has a control over the symptoms with no sedation. No sedation. It's the best, I would say, personally from my own experience. So it really has no sedation, and that I would put as the key, most important factor, especially in small children, leave alone adults. So in relevance in 2019, what we try, it could be the first choice. It has, because of its lowest risk, because of its devoid of sedation, because of its high cardiac safety, and its low inflammatory effects that I already mentioned. So in conclusion, I'd like to say there's an increased prevalence of allergies in Asia Pacific, that house dust mite or persistent allergic rhinitis is the most common in our regions. Pollens play an important role. Food allergies and eczema are increasing as a second wave. I didn't deal with that today because that was not the point of today's discussion. But having said that, with pollution worsening, atopic eczema can lead to actually the aggravation of food allergies. And then air pollution, climate change, and altered biodiversity can have a worsening on the impact of allergic diseases, and the role of environment control measures, as well as the adequate treatment and control of allergic rhinitis and asthma, and especially allergic rhinitis, because the trigger factor for asthma, and it actually worsens asthma, is crucial for controlling and improving the quality of life of the patients that we see.